Jake Morrison sat at the long metal table inside the big round room on Nexus Prime. The room was huge with walls that reached up so high you had to bend your neck back to see the top. Lights hung down from the ceiling and made everything bright. Around the room sat beings from 12 different worlds. Some looked like humans but with different colored skin. Others looked like giant bugs or fish that could walk on land. Jake wore his best blue uniform with gold buttons and patches that showed he spoke for all humans. His face looked tired. Dark lines under his eyes told anyone who looked that he had not slept well in many days. His gray hair was cut short and neat. He sat very still and straight in his chair. The Vorthak was talking now. The Vorthak looked like a tall, thin human, but his skin was red like fire and he had 4 arms instead of 2. His voice was loud and angry as he spoke to everyone in the room. "The humans are too violent," the Vorthak said. His 4 hands moved as he talked. "They kill without thinking. They are not ready to be with civilized beings like us. They belong on their own world, far from here." Many of the other beings in the room made sounds that meant they agreed. The ethereal collective was there too. It looked like white light in the shape of a person. When it spoke, its voice sounded like wind through trees. "Humans are too young, as a species," it said. "They do not understand peace, they only know war and death. We cannot trust them around our people." The bug-like beings called the hive mind made clicking sounds with their mouths. This meant they agreed with what was being said. Their big black eyes looked at Jake like he was something bad they found under a rock. The water beings from the deep ocean worlds pulsed with blue and green lights under their skin. This was how they showed they agreed too. Jake knew what all these signs meant. He had learned them during his 5 years working here. 3 months ago, something bad had happened. Human ships were moving people from Earth to a new world called Haven's Rest. The ships were big and slow and full of families. Pirates attacked them. The pirates wanted to take the people and sell them as slaves to other worlds. The human warships came to help. Captain Roy Mitchell led the fight. The pirates had fast ships and good weapons. The fight was hard. In the end, the humans won, but they had to destroy all the pirate ships. No pirates lived through the fight. The council said the humans used too much force. They said humans should have tried to catch the pirates alive. They said killing all the pirates proved humans were too violent for the galaxy. Jake had tried to explain. He told them the pirates would have sold human children as slaves. He said the human captains had no choice, but the council would not listen. Now they were voting to punish all humans. They wanted to stop human ships from using the big space roads between stars. They wanted to stop humans from trading with other worlds. They wanted to make it so humans could not leave their own worlds without special papers. The Zentarian Chancellor stood up. The Zentarians looked like tall blue cats that walked on 2 legs. This one wore a long robe covered in silver threads. "We must protect our people from human violence," the Chancellor said. "They cannot control themselves. They are a danger to peace." Jake had heard enough. He stood up slowly. His chair made a small noise as it moved back. Every being in the room turned to look at him. The room became very quiet. "I have listened to your words," Jake said. His voice was calm, but everyone could hear it clearly. "You have made your choice about humans. Now humans will make their choice about you." He reached down and picked up his papers from the table. He put them in his black bag very carefully. "The human delegation is leaving this council," Jake said. "We will not come back. We will not ask to return. From this day on, humans will have nothing to do with any of you." The room exploded with noise. Beings jumped up from their chairs. Some made angry sounds, others made confused sounds. The Zentarian Chancellor hit his desk with a metal stick to make everyone quiet. "You cannot just leave," the Chancellor said. "There are rules. There are papers to sign." Jake looked at him with steady eyes. "We came here looking for friends. We found judges instead. Earth will remember this day." Lisa Adams stood up too. She was young with short brown hair and wore the same blue uniform as Jake. She had been quiet during all the meetings, but now she picked up her papers and stood beside Jake. They walked toward the big doors together. Their boots made soft sounds on the smooth floor. Every eye in the room watched them go. At the doors, Jake stopped and turned around one more time. He looked at each group of beings. His eyes were hard like stone. "You wanted us gone," he said. "You have your wish." Then they left. The doors closed behind them with a soft sound. Outside in the long hallway, Lisa spoke for the first time. "What, now, sir?" she asked. Jake kept walking. "Now we go home, Lieutenant Commander, and we tell our people what we learned here today." "What did we learn?" Jake stopped walking and looked at her. "We learned that we stand alone in this galaxy, and that is fine. Humans know how to stand alone." Within 2 days, every human on Nexus Prime was gone. They took their belongings and left on the next ships to Earth. They said nothing to the beings they had worked with for years. They just left. The message went out to every human world and every human ship in space. Come home. Leave the alien worlds. Take nothing that belongs to them, but leave nothing of ours behind. It was the beginning of the Great Silence. 6 months had passed since the humans left the Council. Admiral Kate Sullivan stood on the bridge of the space station called Kepler Station. It was the biggest human outpost in the far edge of space, where the stars were spread out and far apart. Kate was a tall woman with short gray hair. Her blue uniform had many ribbons on it that showed she had fought in wars and saved many lives. Today was her last day on the station. Tomorrow she would take the last humans home to Earth. "Dr. Parker, how are we doing with the files?" she asked. Dr. Ryan Parker looked up from his computer screen. He was young, with messy brown hair and thick glasses. His white coat was wrinkled because he had been working for 3 days without sleep. "All done, Admiral," he said. "Every bit of research we did here is now saved on Earth computers. Every design we made, every discovery, every new idea we shared with the aliens, it's all going back with us." Kate nodded. This was important. The humans had shared much knowledge with the other species in the galaxy. They had helped solve problems and fix things that were broken. Now that knowledge was going home. Through the big windows of the station, Kate could see alien ships docked. Outside, their crews were watching the humans pack up and leave. Many looked confused. Some looked worried. A Zentaurian trader named Kexva had come to Kate 3 times in the past week. Each time he asked why the humans were leaving. Each time Kate gave the same answer. "We were told we don't belong here," she said, "so we are going where we do belong." "But what about our trade agreements?" Kexva had asked. "Who will fix our ships when they break down? Who will guard the shipping lanes from pirates?" Kate had looked at him with cold eyes. "That is not our problem anymore." The humans were not just leaving. They were taking apart everything they had built. Every machine, every computer, every piece of equipment that had human technology in it was being carefully removed. Chief Engineer Tony Rodriguez worked with his team to shut down the station's main power core. The power core was a human design that made energy much more efficiently than alien technology. The aliens had asked for the plans many times, but humans had always said no. "Why are you breaking it?" asked a Vorthak engineer who had worked alongside Tony for 2 years. "We could use this design. It would help our people." Tony didn't look up from his work. "It's our design. We're taking it with us." "But we were friends," the Vorthak said. His voice sounded hurt. Tony stopped working and looked at him. "Friends defend each other. Friends trust each other. The Council called us violent killers. Where were our friends then?" The Vorthak had no answer. On Earth, President Claire Johnson sat in a room deep underground. Around the table sat the leaders of every human world and colony. The room had no windows and thick walls. What they talked about here would never be heard by alien ears. "Operation Silent Running is now in effect," President Johnson said. She was an older woman with silver hair and sharp blue eyes. "All contact with alien species ends today. No trade, no messages, no meetings. Nothing." General Pete Hayes leaned forward. He was a big man with short black hair and scars on his face from old battles. "What about humans who want to stay on alien worlds? Some have made lives there." "They come home," the president said firmly. "All of them." We leave no one behind. And if they refuse? The president's eyes became hard as ice. Then they choose their side. But they cannot be both human and allied with those who rejected us. Commander Steve Rodriguez ran the Deep Space Monitoring Division. His job was to watch the galaxy and report what the aliens were doing. Today he got new orders. From now on we watch, but we don't talk. His boss told him. Earth goes dark to the galaxy. No signals go out, no messages come in. As far as they know, we disappeared. Steve understood. The Great Silence was not just humans leaving alien worlds. It was humans becoming invisible to the entire galaxy. The work was already starting. Human colonies that the aliens knew about were being secretly moved to new worlds. Human ships were getting new designs that alien sensors could not detect. Human messages were being sent on frequencies that aliens could not hear. In 1 year, the galaxy would not know where any humans were or what they were doing. The aliens were starting to notice problems. The Outer Rim territories had always been dangerous. Pirates and raiders attacked ships and colonies there. But human patrol ships had kept most of the trade routes safe. Now those patrol ships were gone. The first pirate attack happened only 2 weeks after the last human warship left. A Centaurian cargo ship was destroyed and its crew killed. The pirates took everything valuable. The Council sent Vorthak ships to patrol instead of humans. But the Vorthak did not know how to fight pirates the way humans did. Human captains had learned pirate tricks and could think like pirates. The Vorthak fought by the rules. Pirates did not follow rules. 3 more ships were lost in the first month. On the research station orbiting the star called Proxima, alien scientists worked on a project to understand dark matter. This invisible stuff made up most of the universe, but no one knew what it really was. Dr. Alan Wright had been the lead human scientist on the project. He had worked on it for 4 years and had figured out most of the puzzle. The research was almost finished when the humans left the Council. Alan took all his work with him when he left. The alien scientists tried to continue without him, but they could not understand his methods. The project stopped. "We need him back," said Dr. Veltar, a ethereal collective scientist. "Without his work, we will never solve this mystery." But Alan Wright was already on a ship back to Earth, taking his knowledge with him. Similar things were happening everywhere. Human doctors who knew how to treat rare diseases left alien hospitals. Human engineers who knew how to fix complex machines went home. Human teachers who had been training alien children packed up their lessons and disappeared. The galaxy was slowly learning what it meant to live without humans. On a frontier world called Haven's Point, colonists sent desperate messages to the Council. The Deathclaw clans were attacking again. These were nomadic raiders who killed for fun and took whatever they wanted. For 5 years, Fort Liberty had protected the colonists. It was a human military base with strong walls and brave soldiers. But the humans had left, taking their weapons and their knowledge with them. The Vorthak fleet came to help, but they did not know how to fight Deathclaw raiders. The Deathclaws used hit-and-run tactics. They struck fast and disappeared before the slow Vorthak ships could respond. 3 colonies fell in the first month after the Vorthak took over protection duties. The survivors were taken as slaves or killed for sport. The galaxy was changing, and not for the better. But it was too late to call the humans back. They were already gone, vanishing into the dark between the stars like they had never existed at all. 2 years had passed since the humans left. The Grand Council chambers on Nexus Prime looked the same as always, but everything felt different. The beings who sat around the big circular table looked worried and tired. Elena Vasquez stood at the center of the room. She was not alive in the way most beings were. She was a machine with a mind, built by other machines long ago. Her body looked like silver metal shaped into the form of a woman. When she spoke, her voice sounded like music, but today the music was sad. "I have troubling news to share," Elena said. Her glowing blue eyes looked at each council member. "The numbers do not lie. Our galaxy is becoming weaker." She waved her hand, and pictures appeared in the air above the table. Charts and graphs floated there, showing information that made the council members shift uncomfortably in their chairs. "Trade income has dropped by 34% since the humans left," Elena continued. New inventions and discoveries have fallen by 67%. Most serious of all, pirate attacks have increased by 400% in areas where humans used to patrol. The Vorthak representative, Commander Zarketh, slammed his 4 fists on the table. His red skin grew even redder with anger. "This is temporary," he said. "We are adjusting to new conditions. Things will improve." Elena's metal face did not change expression, but her voice became colder. "The data suggests otherwise, Commander. Would you like to see the casualty reports from the Outer Rim?" More pictures appeared in the air. These showed destroyed ships and burned colonies, bodies floating in space, children crying over dead parents. The room became very quiet. Chancellor Vextar of the Zentorians looked at the pictures with his big cat-like eyes. Privately, he had been reading reports that his own people were afraid to share in public. The report said things were getting worse, not better. The humans had not just been members of the galactic community. They had been the backbone that held everything together. They took the dangerous jobs that other species avoided. They fixed problems that others could not solve. They protected trade routes that others were afraid to patrol. Now they were gone, and the galaxy was falling apart. "What about the research projects?" asked Dr. Sylvan from the Ethereal Collective. Her voice shimmered like starlight. "Can we continue the work the humans were doing?" Elena turned to face her. Dr. Alan Wright was working on understanding dark matter. His research was 90% complete when he left. Our best scientists have tried to continue his work for 2 years. They have made zero progress. The truth was worse than Elena said. The alien scientists could not even understand Wright's notes. His methods of thinking were too different from theirs. Without him, the project was dead. "The medical research is also stopped," Elena continued. "Dr. Susan Clark was developing treatments for the Red Death Plague. She took all her work when she left. The plague is spreading again on Kepler 442b. Without her cure, thousands will die." Council member Thrix of the Hive Mind made clicking sounds of distress. His people were among those dying from the plague. "What about the defense systems?" asked a representative from the Deep Ocean Collective. Her blue skin pulsed with worried lights. Elena's expression grew darker. "This is the most serious problem. The humans designed and maintained most of our early warning systems. They built the sensor networks that watch for invasions from outside the galaxy. Those systems are failing." She waved her hand again. A map of the galaxy appeared, covered in red warning lights. 60% of our deep space sensors are offline. We are becoming blind to threats from outside our borders. The room erupted in worried voices. Representatives spoke over each other in different languages. Some made sounds of fear. Others demanded action. Chancellor Vextar stood up, and the room became quiet. His blue fur was standing up on his neck, a sign that he was very upset. "We need to contact the humans," he said. "We need to ask them to come back." Commander Zarketh jumped up, his 4 arms waving angrily. "Never. We were right to remove them from the council. They are violent killers who cannot be trusted." "And where has that gotten us?" Vextar shot back. "Our trade routes are hunting grounds for pirates. Our research has stopped. Our colonies are being destroyed. Maybe we were wrong." The Vorthak's red face turned purple with rage. "The humans proved their nature when they murdered those pirates instead of capturing them alive. They showed us what they really are." "They were protecting their children from slavers," said a small voice from the back of the room. Everyone turned to look. It was Council Member Pipta from the Small Folk. The Small Folk looked like humans, but were only 3 feet tall. They rarely spoke in council meetings. "My people have studied the records of that battle," Pipta said, her tiny voice carrying clearly in the quiet room. "The pirates had already killed the crews of 2 ships. They were torturing prisoners. The human captains tried to negotiate. First, the pirates responded by killing more hostages." She looked around at the faces watching her. "The humans did what any parent would do. They stopped the people who were hurting their children. We condemned them for being good parents." The room was silent again. Many of the council members looked uncomfortable. Elena spoke into the silence. There is something else you should know. Our long-range sensors detected unusual activity in the Sol system last month. New pictures appeared in the air. These showed energy readings and radiation signatures that made no sense. Someone is building something very large in Earth's solar system. The energy output suggests construction on a massive scale, but we cannot determine what they are building because the humans have learned to block our sensors. Chancellor Vextar's ears flattened against his head. How large? Larger than any space station ever built. Larger than some moons. The fear in the room was now so thick you could almost touch it. The beings who had cast out the humans as too primitive were facing the possibility that their former allies had become something they could not understand. "We need to send a message to Earth," said Dr. Sylvan. "We need to apologize and ask them to return." "And if they say no?" asked Elena. No one had an answer for that. On the frontier world of Haven's Point, what remained of the colonists huddled in underground bunkers, the Deathclaw clans had destroyed everything above ground. The Vorthak fleet that was supposed to protect them had been destroyed or driven off. Colony leader Martha Collins sent one more desperate message to the council. "Please." Her voice was tired and full of pain. "We are dying here. Send help. Send anyone. Send the humans back." But the humans were not coming back. They had made that very clear. The galaxy was learning what it meant to live with the consequences of its choices, and those consequences were becoming more terrible with each passing day. 5 years had passed since the humans left the council. The galaxy had not gotten better. If anything, things were much worse now. Whole sectors were controlled by pirates and raiders. Trade between worlds had almost stopped. Many colonies had been abandoned. The council finally admitted they needed help. They voted to send a secret mission to find Earth and ask the humans to come back. Captain Nina Foster stood on the bridge of the exploration ship Harmony's Quest. She was a Zentorian with blue fur and bright green eyes. Her ship was the fastest and most advanced vessel the council could build. It had crew members from 6 different species, all working together to find humanity's lost homeworld. "Navigation, do we have anything yet?" Nina asked. Lieutenant Kexmore, a young Zentorian male, looked up from his instruments. His ears were drooping with frustration. "Nothing, Captain. The star charts the humans gave us years ago are all wrong. Every coordinate leads to empty space." Nina was not surprised. The humans had been very careful about hiding the location of their homeworld. Even when they were part of the council, they had never told anyone exactly where Earth was located. "They planned this from the beginning," said Dr. Velma, the ship's science officer. She was from the Ethereal Collective and looked like a woman made of white light. "They never trusted us with their real location." Commander Pike Davis had been the human military advisor assigned to Nina's ship years ago. He had been a good friend and a trusted officer. Before he left with all the other humans, he had given Nina a small gift, a star map that he said showed the general area where old friends might be found. Nina had kept that map secret from the council. Now she pulled it out of her private safe. "Set course for Sector 779, she ordered. The humans might be somewhere in that region. The search took 3 months. They jumped from star system to star system, scanning planets and looking for any sign of human activity. Most systems were empty of intelligent life. A few had primitive species that had not yet learned to travel between stars. Then they found something strange. "Captain," called out sensor operator Rexta, a member of the small folk. "I'm detecting artificial structures in the next system over. Very large structures." Nina's heart started beating faster. "On screen." The view screen showed a yellow star very much like the one that had warmed Earth. Around it orbited several planets. But what made Nina's breath catch in her throat were the massive metal structures floating in space around the 3rd planet. "Those are defensive platforms," whispered Commander Torval, a Vorthak who served as the ship's weapons officer. Even though his people had been the most vocal about removing humans from the council, he sounded afraid. "I've never seen anything like them." The platforms were enormous. Each one was the size of a small moon. They bristled with weapons that the ship's computers could not identify. Energy readings showed they were using power systems far more advanced than anything the council had ever seen. The planet itself Dr. Velma said softly. Look at the planet. Earth had changed. The blue and green world that humans had shown in old pictures was still there, but now it glowed with the lights of massive cities. Orbital elevators stretched from the surface to space stations above. Industrial complexes covered entire continents. This was not the primitive homeworld the Council remembered. This was the heart of an advanced technological civilization. Captain, Rexta said urgently, we're being scanned. Something very powerful is examining our ship. Before Nina could respond, the view screen changed. The face of a human appeared on it. He was an older man with gray hair and hard eyes. He wore a uniform that looked military, but was designed in a style Nina had never seen before. Unknown vessels, the man said. His voice was calm, but cold as ice. You are in restricted space. This is Admiral Carl Thompson of the Terran Republic Defense Force. You have entered our territory without permission. Depart immediately. Nina stood up from her captain's chair. Her hands were shaking slightly. Admiral Thompson, this is Captain Nina Foster of the Council exploration vessel Harmony's Quest. We come seeking diplomatic contact with the Terran Republic. The human's expression did not change. The Terran Republic does not recognize the authority of the Galactic Confederation Council. You are not welcome here. Please, Admiral, Nina said. We need to talk. The galaxy is in trouble. We need human help. Admiral Thompson's eyes became even harder. The galaxy made its position on human help very clear 5 years ago. We remember the Council's decision. Now we live by it. A new voice spoke from off-screen. Nina could not see who it was, but it sounded like a young human woman. Admiral, their ship design is Council standard. They have representatives from 6 species aboard. Standard diplomatic mission configuration. Thank you, Lieutenant Shaw, the Admiral replied. Captain Foster, you have exactly 10 minutes to leave this system. If you are still here after that time, you will be removed. Removed how? Nina asked, though she was afraid of the answer. The Admiral smiled, but it was not a friendly smile. You really don't want to find out. Around the Earth system, more ships became visible as they decloaked. These vessels were sleek and deadly looking, with designs that seemed to blend the best human engineering with completely new technologies. Nina's instruments could barely detect them even when they were visible. Captain, Torval said quietly, their ships are registering weapon signatures I've never seen before. Energy output is off the charts. Our shields wouldn't last 10 seconds against one of them. Nina looked back at the Admiral on the screen. What happened to you? What did you become? Carl Thompson's expression softened slightly, and for a moment Nina saw sadness in his eyes. We became what we needed to become, he said. We learned to stand alone. We learned to defend ourselves. We learned that the only people we can truly trust are other humans. But we're here to apologize, Nina said desperately. We're here to ask you to come back. We made a mistake. The Admiral shook his head slowly. Some mistakes cannot be undone, Captain. Some words cannot be taken back. The Council showed us what they really thought of humanity. We heard them loud and clear. The screen went dark. Captain, Rexta called out. Massive energy buildup from the defensive platforms. They're targeting us. Retreat, Nina ordered. Get us out of here now. As the Harmony's Quest jumped away from Earth, Nina sat in her chair and stared at the empty view screen. Her mission had been to bring the humans back to the Council. Instead, she had discovered something that would terrify every being in the galaxy. The humans were no longer the species that had left 5 years ago. They had become something else entirely, something powerful and advanced, and completely beyond the Council's influence, and they remembered every word that had been said about them in those Council chambers. The trip back to Nexus Prime felt very long. Nina spent the time writing her report and wondering how the Council would react to the truth. The humans were not coming back. They had moved far beyond needing or wanting the Council's approval. The galaxy would have to face its problems alone. The question now was whether the galaxy could survive what it had done to itself. The council chambers had never been so quiet. Captain Nina Foster stood at the center of the room, facing beings who looked like they had not slept in days. Her report lay on the table in front of each council member. The paper seemed to glow with terrible importance. Chancellor Vexitar was the first to speak. His blue fur had turned gray in the past 5 years, and his cat-like eyes looked tired and old. "Tell us again about their defenses," he said quietly. Nina took a deep breath. "The orbital platforms around Earth are each the size of a small moon. Our computers could not identify their weapon systems because the technology is beyond anything we understand. Their ships appeared and disappeared without warning. Admiral Thompson could have destroyed us easily, but he chose to let us go." Commander Zarketh, the Vorthak representative, had been very quiet during the whole briefing. His red skin looked pale, and his forearms were folded tightly across his chest. "This is impossible," he said finally. 5 years ago, they were barely more advanced than we are. How could they build such things so quickly? Dr. Elena Vasquez, the machine being, had been calculating numbers while Nina spoke. Her silver face showed no emotion, but her blue glowing eyes seemed dimmer than usual. "Based on the energy signatures Captain Foster recorded, the humans have made technological advances equivalent to what should take us 50 to 100 years, she said. "Either they had this technology hidden from us all along, or they have learned to advance at an impossible rate." The small representative of the Deep Ocean Collective pulsed with worried blue lights under her skin. "What if they attack us? What if they decide we are a threat?" Nina shook her head. "Admiral Thompson could have destroyed my ship without effort. He let us leave with a warning instead. I don't think they want to attack us. I think they want nothing to do with us at all." This was somehow worse than the threat of attack. The idea that humans no longer cared about the galaxy was more frightening than the idea that they might be angry. Dr. Marcus Hayes spoke from his seat near the back of the chamber. Hayes was an artificial intelligence construct built by humans many years ago before they learned to mistrust other species. His electronic mind held the complete history of every council session for the past century. "I have been analyzing our past interactions with humanity," he said in his mechanical voice. "The evidence is clear. We made a critical error in judgment." He gestured and images appeared in the air above the table. Pictures of humans working alongside other species. Humans defending alien colonies. Humans sharing their knowledge and technology freely. "Humans were never the violent, uncontrolled species we claimed they were," Hayes continued. "They were the most cooperative and helpful species in the Council. They took on dangerous assignments that other species refused. They shared discoveries that other species kept secret. They protected colonies that other species abandoned." More images appeared. These showed the galaxy before humans left, and the galaxy now. The difference was shocking. In our fear of their military capabilities, we ignored their contributions to galactic society. We confused their strength for aggression and their independence for arrogance. We cast out the very species that was holding our civilization together. Chancellor Vexitar put his head in his hands. "What have we done?" The answer came from an unexpected source. Long-range sensors detected a massive construction project in deep space, far from any known star system. The energy signatures were clearly human, but the scale was beyond anything anyone had imagined. Captain Foster had brought recordings of the construction site with her. When she played them for the council, the entire chamber fell silent. The structure was enormous. It stretched across space for millions of kilometers. Parts of it looked like a shipyard, but for ships larger than anything that had ever existed. Other parts looked like research facilities or manufacturing plants. The whole thing pulsed with energy and crawled with construction ships. "What are they building?" whispered Dr. Sylvan from the Ethereal Collective. No one had an answer. The structure was too big to be a space station, too complex to be a single ship, too advanced to be anything the galaxy understood. "They're not just surviving," Nina said softly. "They're preparing for something big." The fear in the room was now complete. The beings who had cast out humans as too primitive were facing the reality that their former allies had become an unknown power preparing for unknown purposes. We have to contact them, said the small folk representative, Pipta. Her tiny voice was shaking. We have to apologize and ask them to come back. And say what? Asked Commander Zarketh bitterly. That we were wrong? That we need them after all? That we're sorry for calling them violent killers? Yes, Pipta said firmly. That's exactly what we say. Chancellor Vextar stood up slowly. His legs seemed weak, but his voice was strong. Draft. A formal apology, he ordered. Send it to Earth on all frequencies. Tell the humans that the Council admits its error. Tell them we need their help. Tell them we want them to come home. The message was written carefully by the best diplomats in the galaxy. It apologized for the Council's harsh judgment. It admitted that humans had been unfairly accused. It begged for forgiveness and asked the humans to return. The message was broadcast toward Earth with the most powerful transmitters the Council had. It was repeated every day for months. No answer came. Other messages followed. Personal pleas from individual Council members. Offers of better trade agreements. Promises of positions of authority in the Council government. Even offers to make Earth the capital world of the galaxy. Still no answer. On Earth, President Claire Johnson sat in her office deep beneath the planet's surface. She was older now, with white hair and lines around her eyes. But her back was straight, and her voice was still strong. The latest Council message played on her desk computer. It was particularly desperate, offering humans complete control over galactic defense forces if they would only return. What should we do with this one? Asked her aide, a young man named Kevin Brooks. President Johnson touched a button on her desk. Archive it with the others. Kevin looked surprised. We're not going to respond at all? The president turned to look out the window of her office. Beyond the glass, she could see the construction yards where humanity's first interstellar dreadnought was nearing completion. The ship was enormous, bristling with weapons and armor that could destroy anything the galaxy had ever built. The Council had their chance to be our friends, she said quietly. They chose to be our judges instead. Now they want our help, but they still think of us as the same primitive species they cast out. She turned back to Kevin. They don't understand that we don't need them anymore. We don't need their approval or their permission or their friendship. We have become something they cannot understand and cannot control. But what if they attack us? President Johnson smiled, but it was not a happy smile. With what? Half their defense fleet has been destroyed by pirates. Their technology is 50 years behind ours. Their colonies are failing and their trade routes are collapsing. She walked over to a wall covered with star maps. Red pins showed human colonies that the galaxy didn't know existed. Blue pins showed human allies that the Council had never met. Green pins showed human research stations working on projects that would reshape the universe. We tried to be part of their galaxy, she said. They told us we didn't belong, so we built our own. Outside Earth, the great shipyards continued their work. New vessels took shape in the darkness of space, each one more advanced than anything the galaxy had ever imagined. The humans were building a fleet not for conquest but for exploration. They had their eyes turned away from the failing Galactic Council and toward the vast unknown regions beyond the galaxy's edge. There were new worlds to find, new species to meet, new alliances to build. The Council's messages continued to arrive, growing more desperate with each transmission. They were archived unread in vast computer databases. Humanity had moved on. They remembered who had stood with them when it mattered, and the answer was no one. Now they would stand with each other, and with new friends they would find among the stars. The galaxy would have to live with the consequences of its choices, and those consequences grew more terrible with each passing day, as the civilization the humans had once protected slowly crumbled away. Humanity's great silence continued, and in that silence lay a message louder than any words. Some bridges once burned can never be rebuilt.